Hi, it's Doug Dane. Can I give you some feedback? Chances are you're not really great at giving yourself feedback, or you weren't taught a great model for giving self feedback. Unfortunately, we do too much self coaching and too much self problem solving, and we do give ourselves feedback when we're trying to get ahead or try to improve. And we face challenges. We're not really all that good at it. So this is a tip from my book, Mistaken Identity. Each day I run these tips to try to convince you to change your mind about the way you operate, your mind, your thinking, your beliefs, the rules, standards, values, beliefs you operate your life by, especially the ones that aren't serving you. If you're struggling to get ahead, if you're not succeeding like you want to, if you're facing problems and challenges you just can't seem to resolve, chances are you've got a mistaken identity, a mistaken viewpoint towards yourself, or maybe some mistaken values and beliefs that you operate by, whether they serve you or not. So one of them is we're not great at giving feedback. So I was talking to somebody the other day. They're in my 45-day live workshop that I'm running over the next 5 weeks, about a weekend. We got about 5 more weeks to go. Every day, 5 days a week, I'm doing a live coaching call to change their mind on their mistaken identity and also change their mindset in terms of how they're operating, the way that they think. And in talking to somebody, they were giving us some feedback on a strategy or a campaign they had launched, and they didn't get the results that they wanted. And they were giving themselves feedback live in a group, and they were pretty critical. They were pretty hard on themselves. And I said, you got to stop taking your results so personally. And they said, I'm not doing it. I said, you absolutely are. I said, let me give you a better model for giving yourself feedback. So if you're going to give yourself feedback, follow a proper model that is much more effective than the way you were taught to do, which might be just purely judgment, criticism, giving yourself a hard time. I want you to imagine that you and I are out in the field, and let's say you are a salesperson or any type of position or job that you're in, and I'm your manager, and my job is to provide you with feedback. Number one rule with feedback as a manager is you're not supposed to give your own feedback unless you've observed the behavior. Right? So it's ineffective for people to coach people on their behavior if they've not observed the behavior. So what you need to do, what I need to do if I was giving you feedback, is I need to ask you some very effective questions and allow you to feed back to me your behavior. And as you do that, to see if there's any areas where I can correct. And so here's what you do. Here's the model for self-feedback. I would apply it to every situation that you face challenge in. So it could be a sales call you're on. It could be a problem you're having with a friend, a colleague, a family member, your spouse, or child, whatever. Any situation, it would be a good idea to get in the habit of giving yourself better feedback. And so what you do is you basically ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, what was my objective? What was I trying to achieve? What was I going for? What was I shooting for? So let's say you're in a conflict with your spouse, and the objective is to resolve that conflict and come to an agreement, on A, B, C, or X, Y, Z. What was my objective? You always need to point your mind to that first, so you can see before you give yourself feedback what you were trying to accomplish. So the other 2 questions that you need to ask yourself, and the only 2 questions that you need to ask yourself, and I just want you to imagine that I'm asking you those questions. So the first question I would ask you is, what did you do really, really well in that scenario? What did you do really, really well? Now, the default position for us is to go right to the negative. Well, I should have done this, and I shouldn't have done that, and when I did that, and I go, no, that's not what I asked you. So what did you do really, really well? And I might drag one out of you, maybe a couple, because you want to default to the negative, because that's always the way you've operated or always the way you were treated. I go, what else did you do well? What else did you do well? I keep drawing out the things that you did well, trying to get at least 3 positive things from you on what you did really, really well. So you got to keep asking yourself, what did I do well? What did I do well? And just keep answering that question in writing. Get your pen out and jot down the answers. Then the second question goes like this. What's one thing, just one thing, What's one thing I would do differently next time in a similar situation? All you need to do is just grab one thing. You don't need 10 things. Just what is the main thing? Stick to the main point. What's the main thing that you could do differently? And so if I was giving you feedback and I was asking you that question, and if I really feel that you nailed the one thing, I don't need to give you any more feedback. I don't need to coach you. I don't need to correct you. I don't need to do anything. If you get it on your own, you don't need to hear anything from me. You can literally extract it yourself. So I would take that approach to feedback rather than just automatically defaulting to your common MO, where you might be critical of yourself, judgmental of yourself, give yourself a hard time, turn on yourself, ask yourself what the hell's wrong with you. You go down the wrong road. Pretend that I'm asking you for feedback in that situation and use those 3 questions. What was your objective? What did you do really, really well? And answer that at least 3 times plus. And then lastly, what's one thing I could do differently the next time I'm in that situation? Take that with you, do that and go forward. And just use this formula. Do it 20 times in a row. Make it a habit and watch what happens. You will learn and course correct way faster than you can imagine. Thank you.